I would like to just announce the coaches. This is our annual college night, okay? So the purpose and the aim of tonight is one, just to sort of maybe clarify or help clear the muddy waters of recruiting, but to let you hear firsthand from some of our local colleges and their coaches, just how the process goes on the other side. And again, I would encourage you to read our recruiting guide. It was put together and it evolves each year with the help of these coaches, and also just to make sure that you're versed in the process. But we have an amazing panel tonight, better than last year, better looking than last year, and slightly younger. Dave Sexton was putting the age up by at least 50 years. So we'll go down the line. Each coach will give them a little introduction about themselves later. But Travis, again, Travis Morris, High Point University. Yeah, a little stand up, a little round of applause. Now, I have to apologise, not for this next coach, but because we got his name wrong. He was sending another assistant, but we're glad to have Dane here in replacement. So, big round of applause. Tony Balvin, Greensborough College. Steve, Guildford College. Mike Damara, which some of you already know, Greensborough. Right, I'm going for it. Dan Luenziger. What was it? Louisiana. App State. And last, by no means least, John Kerr. So basically how this is going to go, I will ask questions to the panel and then each coach will answer the question, and if it's already been answered we will just move on. At the end, that will be your opportunity and parents to ask any questions that you have been unanswered in this 45 minutes to an hour process. But please, take advantage of what you have, which is fantastic college coaches that have given up their time tonight. We're not paying them, okay? They thought they weren't being paid, but we're not paying them. They've come out here of their own goodwill just to give you a better understanding of what you need to do and how the process works. So don't waste this opportunity, okay? Obviously don't keep them here all night asking them questions because they do have babies to go back to. But don't waste this opportunity. So basically, if you don't mind, I know we have a plethora of schools in different sizes, private, public. Would you mind just introducing a little bit about your school and letting us know what you offer, what you're all about?
Yep, High Point University, down in High Point, North Carolina. Size of the school, it's right around 5,800 students. So we like to kind of call it like a bigger, small school. Most of our student athletes look to major in business or management. That's our biggest major on campus. Want to keep going down the list?
Yeah, I mean, if anything's not applicable, obviously, and again, you won't know this, but I have given last year's questions, and so you don't need to answer the Trump or Clinton question. A joke for last year, but obviously not relevant this year. So everything bar that one, please, Travis.
We are a private school, so we look international all over the country for recruits, as do most colleges, but seeing we do not have in-state tuition, we look all over the country, pull heavily out of the Northeast, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, have a lot of guys, Florida, Texas. Team's GPA this past semester, we were just under a 3.1.
Okay, yeah, and then just Dave.
So Dane Brunner, Wake Forest University. Size of the school is about 6,800, 7,000. We pull guys from all over the country as well. Internationally, I feel like the entire country's gotten more and more international as it's gone on, especially the ACC. And our graduation success rate is 100%. The only guys that normally do not graduate are guys who are fortunate enough to leave early and go professional. Some of those guys don't end up finishing school. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Most common academic interest for us is similar. It's business. Next things I would say would be pre-law, pre-med, sociology, TOM, and health and exercise science seem to be the kind of popular ones on the team. And then our team GPA is roughly 3 points.
Tony from Queensborough College, Queensborough, North Carolina. We've got about 1,000 students, part of the USA South Conference. Institution size is about 1,000 students. Most common majors are exercise science, business, psychology. For our guys, for some reason they want to try and do that. They're trying to find themselves. A lot of them look at that business aspect. Some of them are taking a lot of, we have several guys that are good in math and then going on to engineering, which is common ground for us. Team GPA this past season was a 3.3.
Corey Speedham, the head coach at Guilford College over in Greensboro as well. We're a private school. We're about 1,800 to about 2,000 students, give or take a year. We are, I would say most of the academic interests across our team, typically we find most of our guys are in either a business major, economics, or sport management seems to be a pretty popular one, and then along with our health sciences field, which is kind of an umbrella term for really anything within a health-related field. So that could be anything to do with either psychology or the medical field, whatever it may be. That's one of our programs that kind of covers just kind of anything related with the health field. The team GPA this semester is around 3.0, and most of our recruits are typically come from North Carolina. We don't typically look outside of the state, so not too much international recruiting for us, but really kind of all along North Carolina and then out throughout the Mid-Atlantic as well.
Yeah, so Mike DeMario, UNC Greensboro, just 30 minutes down the road, and pretty much downtown Greensboro. Last year we were about 18,000 students, and this year we just broke 20,000 students, so it's one of the larger UNC schools in the state. I'd say academically, outside of engineering, we can pretty much offer anything, being such a larger school. But again, business would probably be about 50% of our roster is what they're studying. The Bryan School of Business is, of all the state schools, one of the top business programs in the state. But we have guys doing kinesiology, psychology is pretty popular. Even had a German that specifically chose us for interior architectural design, which is pretty unique. So we do offer quite a wide range. The team GPA is just under 3.3 last year, so got the Team Academic Award, that honors all the programs over 3.0. In the Southern Conference, which includes schools like Furman, Mercer, Wofford, VMI, East Tennessee State, so it's a pretty competitive conference.
Do you have something against Germans?
No, we got a couple.
Okay. I do. They keep knocking out the World Cup, so. Not this year. Oh, sorry. That's a bad subject, isn't it? Sorry. It will be. This is England's chance. No Italy, no Holland. Well, yeah, right, Brazil, Argentina. Let me have my dream. Dan, yes please.
Daniel Wiesner with Appalachian State. We're in Boone, North Carolina, right along the Appalachian Trail. We have 18,000 undergrads. We're constantly growing, we're constantly developing. About a dozen years ago, we're at 5,500. So as you know, that's we're exploding. We offer over 100 majors for undergrads, for undergrads and grads. It's total about 150 majors. Our team leans towards exercise science and business. In 2000, as an athletic department, in 2015, 2017, we have received the Sun Belt Institutional Graduation Rate Award, which is something we take a lot of pride in. Our team GPA is a 3.21. I'm pretty proud of that. Boys are required to have a 3.2, or they're stuck in study hall for a long time. Classroom size is about 27. Student to faculty rate is 16:1, so it's pretty small. Good personal interaction with professors. And for recruiting, we're just about anywhere. You know, if we find a player that can make our team better, we're gonna go after you. If it's in state, in region, internationally, I mean, we're gonna try to get you.
Good. John Kerr, Duke University. We're in the ACC, and we're very expensive. We have around 6,500 undergrads and 95% graduation rate. Some of our popular majors are economics, political science, history, and psychology. We're trying to find ourselves as well. And we recruit from all over the world, all over the country, and just like the school itself, it's an international school. And our team GPA, we're very proud of it, 3.45. Our guys work really, really hard. And our first year, for example, we'll have kids in study hall until they can prove themselves. And our guys are doing a great job.
Very lovely, thank you. So, I mean, just from this small panel of 7, can you see how different colleges are and what is expected and where they recruit from based on the type of school that they are? So, start to understand not all colleges are the same, okay, which is a good thing. Dave, do you mind just explaining sort of the typical routine of a student athlete at your school?
In season or out season?
Well, fall first and then spring, because they are slightly different, I believe.
Yeah, so fall, our training time is typically at 3:45, so guys, we have them not take classes before 10 a.m. in case we want to train in the morning. So basically they'll have 2 or 3 classes a day. Some days are lighter, some guys take summer classes to lighten their load in the fall, some guys take heavier classes in the spring, etc. So some of our guys, especially older guys, as they get ahead, some days they don't have class. They're very fortunate. Maybe they came in with AP credits instead. But typically, on average, take 2 or 3 classes a day. If you're a freshman, you have study hall hours to get done, tutors, etc. Practice at 3:45. You'll have treatment beforehand, post-practice, ice bath, and then you're on normally at night to do study hall or whatnot. Obviously, with our schedule being so compacted in the fall, August to December, games are normally Tuesday, Saturday, let's say. So you might have to travel, so there might be travel days in there. Typically, we don't travel midweek very often. We normally have, if we're going to travel, we travel on the weekend, so we leave on Friday and come back on a Sunday. So throw in also, academic meetings with academic advisor, meetings with our staff to go over your weekly schedule, to go over, if you're a freshman especially, to go over your how your classes are going, your play, video sessions or video from games, etc. We meet up with all of our guys weekly on that. So that's generally a rough idea of a week. In the spring, and you get 2 days off a week. We're pretty much mandatory to give you, 1 day off a week, pretty much mandatory to have to give you that off. So you have that in there as well. In the spring, it's a little bit different. There's no games, so we're basically training you almost every single day, Monday through Friday. The sessions are definitely probably a little bit heavier and a little bit harder because we're not gearing you up for a game, so we're not letting off of your legs, so to speak. We're trying to just develop you. But spring guys will normally take a little bit harder classes, harder schedule. You get 5 dates to play in the spring. If you play international matches or if you play professional teams, those don't count. So if we're fortunate to get a couple of those games, we've been lucky. We've gotten maybe 7 a year or so, the past couple of years, which is nice. In the fall, normally you're playing 17 games, roughly, and then postseason, if you're lucky, you get as many as you possibly can, 3, 5, 8, etc. So that's a rough idea of what it looks like. Fall definitely heavier because games and travel make everything a little bit harder, staying caught up with your classes and your work, etc. But as most of these schools, I'm sure, have academic advisors, they have academic support to make sure that you don't fall through the cracks, that you're on top of your academics, you're making sure you're getting your grades. All these guys have GPAs that are above 3.0. That means they take those things seriously.
Okay. And that was obviously probably the same for most D1 schools, that sort of format. What about Corey for D3? Is it the same? Is it different?
Yeah, the fall is pretty much the same across the board from Division III to Division II to Division I. It's really just the spring that's going to be the biggest change, and that's going to be, so we only have 16 practice days in the spring that we can do over a course of, what, 3 to 5, yeah.
45 days.
Yeah, 35 days. So either 4 to 5 weeks, depending on when you end your fall season. So we only have one play date in the spring, and typically we can either do just one match against another opponent, or we can get together with a couple other schools and play like either a round robin or 60-minute matches, something like that. But during the spring, it's more of an opportunity we have guys that are going to be studying abroad in the spring, and you have more of an opportunity to kind of explore things outside the classroom, whether that be your job, internships, things like that. So that would be the biggest difference, is the time commitment in the spring from Division I to Division II, Division III.
You get an extra day if you're playing your alumni. That's the only little wrinkle on that.
All right, John, I mean, obviously, I'm quite sort of adamant about the human side of the thing. So is there any main values that you instill in your incoming players and your current players in terms of the human element and what you're looking for as a person?
Certainly, yes. That's all checked through the recruiting process. We go through diligent background checks in a positive way with your guidance counselors, with your teachers, with your coaches, your club coaches, your O&P coaches, whatever it might be. We try to find as much stuff out about you so that we understand who you are and what you represent, and that's very important to us. The other prospect is we have, team values and team standards, and we abide by them, we live by them all the year round, and certain rules, regulations that we live by on a daily basis are adhered to and enforced by the team. And a lot of the guys, or if, for example, if a couple guys break those rules, we take them seriously, and the players are the ones that are enforcing the rules and making sure that players behave properly, because you're representing your family, number one, obviously yourself and your school. And at a place like Duke, it's very important that you have high values and high standards, and we all live by them in a positive way. We don't treat it like it's a chore or a burden. We want to live these standards, and that's how we think about life, and that's how we want to be considered each and every day.
Yeah, Dan, anything to add on that in terms of what you do at APP, or what you look for?
To be honest, we look for players that will respect, the name on front of the jersey a lot more than the back of the jersey. You got to respect the alumni. You got to respect the supporting staff. You got to be a respectable person and not take things for granted. At the end of the day, we're all going to hang up our cleats sooner rather than later. We look for players who understand that and won't take one day for granted. They'll do everything they can to get as good as they can, as quick as they can. On and off the field, that's in the classroom as well. A lot of programs that they might have a team GPA of a 3.0, which is very respectable. When we walked in there, when Jason walked in there 18 months ago, they said 3.2, which is fantastic. That's what we're looking for. That sort of mentality.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, anything?
No, I mean, I just echo what, they've said. There's certain standards we hold, in terms of what we expect on the field, off the field. At the Division I level, there's so much support staff that's in place, whether it's academically, strength and conditioning, athletic training, equipment, ourselves, our administration, that sometimes the guys don't realize it's there to make sure that they're successful. So it's our job to make sure they understand that and treat them in a positive way. Also, for instance, we're at SoCon tournament this past weekend, and we're there for a hotel for 3 days and eat meals. And, when a hotel staff member tells us how great our guys have been, it's a great compliment, but that's also the expectation. We expect our guys to treat people on the road well. And so, it's pretty much the same thing you guys are talking about.
Anything else? I mean, in terms of what you look for as the person that you want in your locker room?
I think we touched on a lot of the things, but it's character, how they hold themselves, how they take in the classroom, how they take not only preparing themselves for games, but for practice. seriousness, but you want to have some fun with it. There's a 4-year experience if one does it for that duration.
Okay, so you get a bit of a better understanding of what colleges and what college coaches are looking for as students in terms of your academics and as people. I'm going to start to ask some questions now about recruiting, which is why we're all here. And then if at the end you have a question, like I said, that was unanswered, please feel free to answer it. So in no particular preference or order, and if again there's something you want to add that wasn't covered by me or one of the other panel, please answer it. When can a student athlete, and this will go to Travis, when can a student athlete receive phone calls from a college coach or receive correspondence? Because that's a big thing that I get a lot of is, oh, they're not getting back to me, and sometimes they're not allowed to. So.
Right. September 1st of your junior year is when we are allowed to reach out and contact you, whether that's through text, phone call, emails. The one caveat to that is we are allowed to answer phone calls, so if you reach out to us, we're allowed to pick up, we're allowed to talk to you as long as we like. If we miss your call, we cannot call you back. We can't shoot you an email saying, hey, sorry, I missed your call. So that's where that will come in. But yeah, basically the beginning of your junior year is when that was said.
Yes, sir.
If you are trying to reach a coach and he does not pick up, of course this is before September 1st, your junior year, leave a voicemail saying, hey coach, I'm going to call you at 8 p.m. or I will call you tomorrow at this time, so we can make sure we have our phone ready. Because we can't call.
Great little tip there. Dane, in terms of sort of scouting and recruiting services and tools that you use to recruit players, is there any, I don't know, websites or agencies, or do you use video? Like, what's the main way that you recruit players?
I wouldn't personally recommend them. There's plenty out there, and there's plenty of successful ones that make a lot of money. But I personally think that you can do all that stuff on your own. You can do the research, find the schools that you want to reach out to. Everything you need is on the internet in terms of email addresses with coaches and et cetera. And you can formulate your own email and personalize it and write to the coach and have your video in there, have your schedule of games, have your contact information, have your class, your GPA, et cetera. All the information needs to be in an email. Obviously, don't make it 7 pages long, because that quickly goes to the delete file. But just short, simple, direct to the coach. Let them know you're interested. Let them know the games you're going to be at or your schedule, etc. Is the same thing that a recruiting service is going to do. I don't know what a recruiting service really offers you more than you can personally do yourself. And frankly, when we get recruiting services, it's I'm going to get it. All these guys are going to get it. 100 other coaches are going to get it. It's watered down too much for me personally.
Okay. I mean, anything else?
I would say that part of what, going off what Dane's saying is those recruiting services, they're an investment, they're an expense to you and your family. So if you can be proactive on your end, which, with a Mac computer and iMovie, putting together a good enough highlight tape that's going to create interest, creating a resume like Dane said, that's money you can save now that you would put into a recruiting service that now maybe you can travel with that class. Or maybe go to the one-day IB camp. Put that investment, in a more positive way. Because again, we get these recruiting services all the time. I do the same thing for 10 kids in just a general event. And so something to think about how you can invest in your future and be smart about it. And try to actually go see the schools, meet the coaches, and do that sort of thing, as opposed to generic recruiting services.
And again, we're not saying anything bad about recruiting service if you're signed up to one and it works for you, fantastic. But I would be of that opinion. Just and if anyone else wants to chip in, what about videos? Because I get asked that question a lot. Do you send the whole thing? Can it harm you? Can it help you? What's the general, from the college point of view, what's the general sort of feeling about videos, highlight videos? Dan?
Personally, I prefer highlight videos. I mean, more film, the better. But we're not going to watch the whole game, to be honest with you. In the office, we have a million things to do. If it's a highlight clip, fantastic. Then I got a little bit to work off of where I can come out and watch you play in person. For me, I guess the bigger thing is when you're contacting a coach, make sure you have a certain level of professionalism in the email, and the email name as well. If you have something that's pretty inappropriate, I'm going to delete the email right then and there. All right, and I think that goes a long way as well. Back to the film.
Okay, so highlight. Yeah. Do you find it useful if you've never seen a player before? If the quality's good, if the clips are good?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right. In terms of
Adam, I'll say one thing.
oh yeah, sorry.
When you're doing a highlight video, if you only put attacking clips on there, that says something to us. If you only put defending clips on there, that says something to us. So I would include a lot of different parts of your game, with the ball, without the ball, attacking, defending, in the air, etc. Because if you're only putting attacking clips on there, you're telling me you don't like to defend or you don't want to defend. And if you're not going to be a two-way player and you can only do one thing, you're not going to be successful at a lot of programs. So make sure when you're doing these videos, keep it 3 to 5 minutes roughly. Include a lot of different parts of the game. Don't just show one thing. Don't show yourself sitting there in front of your house juggling either. Everybody juggles. Don't have, just, it should be game film. It should be straight from games, clips of game film, 3 to 5 minutes. A lot of different parts of your game. Don't put you lifting in there. Like, I've seen all of it. Okay, don't do that.
Practice, like a proper golfing session, can also be useful because you may not be seeing a lot of action if you're on a good team. If you are not on a good team, then that's different. Please be careful what type of music you assign to those video clips because that can also make us progress really hard.
Okay, in terms of official visits and unofficial visits, I mean, Mike, what is there a difference? If so, what is the difference?
Yeah, basically the difference is unofficial, you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can come to campus and tell a coach up to be there at 2 o'clock and meet with you even before your junior year. They just can't set it up before your junior year. An official visit is basically going to be once you start classes your senior year, expenses are paid, they'll fly you in, they'll take care of your meals, they'll take care of your housing. You pretty much have to submit your transcripts to clearinghouse information and have done that. But that's where your senior year they're going to pretty much take care of everything. You're only allowed 5 official visits. Unofficially, you can do just about as much as you want, or your family will allow you to do. So that's pretty much the difference. Sometimes recruits commit before that time comes, so they might reward you with an official visit after you've committed. We've done that with our players, but we've also flown players in from Florida or wherever and showcase the school of our program, and hopefully we get them in. So those are kind of the main differences.
D3, is it different? Do you still have that, or what's?
It can be a little bit different with your junior year because it also has to be included on what's defined. If you want to have an overnight visit as a junior, it has to be allowable through the admission. So that may write down this a little bit different for us. So what the admissions are, maybe we can for that. But as far as reaching out, we can reach out to any given point.
Okay.
Which is a little bit different in Division I where they have more restrictions.
And this is just for the coaches at the Division 1 level. Are you finding that players are committing before they've had an official visit, and like Mike was saying, it's more sort of after the fact? Is that the trend? I know in the women's game it is. So is that something that's happening a lot at the high school? Oh yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. You blame Anton Gomes for that. So is that something that these boys need to be aware of in terms of official visits and commitment to a college? Or is that something they don't really need to worry too much about?
Yeah, that's the trend, but I will say that it doesn't mean you have to panic and say, oh.
But we had a freshman all-conference player commit in April last year. It was a freshman this year. So your process might be different. Your time, you may want to commit in summer before your senior year. You may want to take your time and commit at a later time in the spring. Some schools, have early admittance and almost require you academically to commit to that program or school at another time. So every school, every recruit, student, athlete is different.
Travis, let's talk. We mentioned scholarships there. How many athletic scholarships do
does High Point offer, and how do you distribute the money?
Yeah, it's, we're fully funded in terms of Division I, so it's 9.9 scholarship, so it's 9.9 times the cost of school, basically, is what we're allowed to spend on athletic scholarships. We distribute money based on ability level for athletic scholarship. So we have, a few of our scholarships are full rides. Those are typically more for international players. We have some guys on zero athletic scholarship. We have some guys on a few $1,000s, and we have some guys on a third to a half. So it really just depends person to person. I will say one thing that we do, a lot of Division I schools will do this once guys graduate and their their athletic money kind of opens up. We will look to reinvest that throughout our team. So if we have a freshman or a sophomore or even juniors and seniors that are doing really well and contributing to the team and our team's doing well, we will look to bump guys and give them increases in their athletic scholarship, guys that are doing well and earning it. So sometimes guys will come in on very little to no athletic scholarship, but that is not a 4-year sentence. It can change every year. So.
Okay. Dave, same.
Yeah, so we're the same. Basically, there's 3 ways to try and help families afford Wake Forest, because similar to Duke and High Point's very expensive as well. We're very expensive schools, private schools. 3 ways are athletic scholarship, which we're fully funded 9.9. Academic scholarship, which is merit-based, which is very, very difficult, and then financial aid. So merit-based scholarships basically only go to 3% of the population that applies every year, and at Wake Forest, that population is going to be a high academic student. So you have to have very high academic scores, SAT score, ACT score, be very involved in extracurriculars, activities, community, et cetera, volunteer work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's been 1 player since I've been at Wake that got that, and probably 2 to 3 players in the past 15 years that I know of that have gotten that. So that's another way. But financial aid is huge at Wake. We're lucky to have financial aid packages from the university that are very, very good for families to try and help that gap and to make it work. The only caveat is that you can't combine some of those monies together. So for example, we don't combine athletic money with financial aid money, but academic money basically you can combine things.
Tony and Corey, is it the same if you're through them?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any scholarships as far as athletic award, but the scholarships are need-based aid and academic.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, we're fully funded 9.9. Being a state school, that can help a little bit if you're in state. I would say our merit-based academic scholarships are probably structured very similar to what Dane was saying. Some state schools and some schools have the ability to give almost any student a merit-based scholarship, where I think in the last 5-6 years we've only had 2 players with 4.0 plus type GPAs get any sort of money. So getting that academic aid from our institution is quite challenging. But I would echo what they've said. We have guys on zero money, books, all the way up to a full ride, anywhere in between. But I would say the idea of a full ride in Division I college soccer is not that common, and even more so probably for the American student athlete, with how smart the international soccer players becoming and
Not the English ones.
can be true. But there's so much access to information. The international students becoming more informed of what college soccer can bring to them, and you're seeing more and more of it happen. So you see there's 9.9 over a course of maybe 26 to 30 players. That can go away very quickly if you're giving out full rides. So I would say the average Division I program that's fully funded may only have 2 to 3 full rides on the roster. And how many of those are American, you just don't know. So that's why looking up the institutions, being smart with the academics, that can always help. And then just picking the right fit for you. And we're not American football. Everybody on the roster has a full ride.
misconception that there's just so much athletic money out there, and it's just not true. I know at App State we're not fully funded. Most schools work off a percentage. We work off of a dollar amount, and when we put that money together, we'll operate somewhere around nine scholarships in state. But if we were to offer a full ride to an out-of-state or international, that number goes down, and it goes down fast. The fact is that it's rare that we're going to offer somebody an athletic scholarship coming out of high school. We say you got to earn it. Right now we had anywhere between 7 and 8 freshmen starting this past year, so we're going to have a handful of those guys who earned it, and we're going to follow through with our word and say, okay, you guys earned it. This is the dollar amount you get. What makes it even tougher for us to give high school students athletic money. So you got to earn it, and academically it's just as difficult. Valedictorian gets just about everything, and the salutatorian gets points. That's just the nature of the business. One thing that does work in our favor is that it's one of the more affordable schools in the state. So that's
John?
I think one of the misconceptions is people might think it's 9.9 scholarships every single year that we get, but it's not true. We have to divide 9.9 scholarships over a 4-year period. So when you do the math, that's roughly 2.5 scholarships per year, depending on how that coach wants to use it. So for example, maybe one year you use 4 scholarships and the next year you'll use 1. So money goes fast and it's not easy to achieve. And our roster is broken up into like Wake's 1/3 are a scholarship, 1/3 are financial aid kids, and 1/3 can luckily afford to come into Duke. So that's how in general. So when you think long term about your situation, you got to figure out what works for your family and understand the circumstances, and then at the end of the day, hopefully it works for everyone involved. And sometimes it doesn't work and both parties have to move on. So that's something to consider. And before you get your hopes too high with certain schools, you better have a word with your parents to make sure that's the right move.
Yeah, so on that subject, I don't know if I missed that, but how long, if you do lucky enough to get a scholarship, how long does it last, and can it be taken away or revoked?
Good question. At our school, for example, once we offer a scholarship, it's for 4 years. And it can't be revoked unless you break team rules or get failed out or get arrested.
Okay. Is that the same, obviously, Division 3 excluded from that, the same with the other Division 1 schools if it's an academic, athletic scholarship? Okay. What's, in terms of a qualifier and a non-qualifier, because obviously academics are highly important into getting into the schools. So, Dane, what is a non-qualifier and what's a qualifier, and how does that affect how you're recruited?
To be honest, a non-qualifier, you can't even touch it normally. Basically, to be a qualifier, they look at your 16 core courses you take, so it's 4 Englishes, math, sciences, etc. And they look at your SAT score. And there's bare minimums, and it's kind of the higher your SAT, the kind of lower your GPA you get. But there's bare minimums you have to get. I believe off the top of my head, it's like a 2.3 maybe.
Okay.
And just those core courses. So if you got an A in physical education, great. That doesn't matter. I mean, it has to be the Englishes, the maths, the sciences across the board. So they look at those things and they calculate your GPA and your SAT score, your ACT score, super scored. So if you do really well, you take it twice on math one day, and you take it 2 months later and you did poorly on math, but you killed it on English, they'll take the best parts of it. So those things together, it basically makes you qualifier or not qualifier, as well as not signing a contract, things like that. So.
Okay, so there's an academic portion to being a qualifier or non-qualifier, and there's also more probably for internationals that have played professionally somewhere or been on the books at a pro club. Okay.
I would say something to be careful with is now more and more you guys are taking online classes through homeschool systems and that sort of thing, which you may not have a counselor that can advise you in terms of the classes you need to take. We've recruited a kid it's going to work out, but he's doing half his classes in a traditional school, which if you're doing all your classes in traditional school, most times you're going to have your 16-4, and the academic standards again in most of our universities are going to be higher than the NCAA standards. But if you're doing online classes in conjunction with that, a lot of the times those homeschool classes have to get submitted to the NCAA for approval as a core class. So make sure you're getting on top of that, looking at the NCAA to see what's going to qualify and what's not. Get with your counselor to make sure you're on track. Before your senior year, you have to have 10 of those core courses completed, so making sure you're doing it properly, especially if you're going with a homeschool online route.
Again, is that anything different? No. What, on that subject, so what is the eligibility centre or the old clearinghouse? Is that, and how do they, how important is that for them to get into? And when should they get into it?
I mean, you can pretty much sign up any time, and then for Division I, it's required. If you want to get recruited by us, you have to go through the eligibility center. So basically, you're going to have to apply to the school, apply to the eligibility center, and basically send transcripts, test scores to both, which can be tedious at times, which is where parents can help. But guys need to be proactive on your end to do that. But that's basically how the NCAA is going to, qualify your amateurs and make sure you're eligible active and that sort of thing.
So that will help you in terms of determining qualifier and non-qualifier. Okay, right. Travis, sort of what are the three things or the three most important things or components you look for in a potential student athlete for High Point?
I'd say the first is your attitude. I'd say, sorry, let me back up. First is some soccer ability, okay, whether it's a very good defender, a very good attacker, someone that has a good engine, like there's a lot of things that we can look at. So probably first is some sort of high-end soccer ability. The second thing is attitude. So whenever we see a guy, if we like him, first thing is, can we get him to camp? Can we get him to campus? Can we meet him? We start calling counselors, teachers, club coaches, high school coaches to see what you're like at training, see what you're like as a teammate, see how you are in class, a lot of those things. If you come on a visit and you're back talking to your parents, or you have your hood up and you're on your phone and you're slouching in your chair like this, those are all kind of just red flags for us where it's, I don't know if that's someone that we want to have in our program, so I would probably call that attitude. And then I think probably the third thing that we look for is someone that's going to fit with our group. So before we extend an offer to anyone for our program, we have them come for a visit and hang out with our players. You might hang out with the staff for an hour or two, and the rest of the time is with our student athletes. And after you leave, fly, drive home, whatever, we'll bring the guys in, interact with you, and we'll open up to them. Say, what do you think of him? Is this someone that fits our culture, what we want in a teammate? And there have been guys that have come on visits that we really liked and thought kind of fit what we want, and our players say, Coach, no way. And they can be one of the best players on our recruiting board. If our players say they're not going to fit, it doesn't make sense for us.
Dave, anything different?
No, I mean, we're looking for a holistic player. We're looking for guys who play both sides of the ball, guys' reactions, and we look at everything. I look at your Instagram, I look at your Snapchat. I'll follow you if you're putting stuff that's ridiculous. I'm gonna stop talking, stop recruiting you. We look at you when you walk up to the field, how you handle yourself on the sideline, how you interact with your parents, your coaches, all those things. And as soon as there's a red flag, it's done and on to the next one. Because there's definitely guys out there that will want that spot, that will do things the right way, that will handle themselves the right way, that will treat people with respect. And they're just as good enough players. Sometimes not even maybe as good enough players, but those guys are normally more successful at the end of the game. So that as well, kind of very similar to what Travis said. Academically, obviously, you have to have the grades and the shots to cut it in weight. And then, everything.
Tony?
It's very similar to all that. We want to make sure we bring in someone that's going to be successful on and off the field, and they're going to fit in with what we're trying to do as a program.
Anything different? Whilst we have a few parents in the room, how, related to that, how do parents either help or hinder the student athlete in the recruiting process? I know you touched on it, Travis, but is there any sort of things that parents need to be aware of when assisting their child through the recruiting process, particularly when they go to meet the coach? John?
Certainly, I've had a lot of meetings with players and their parents, and there's a red flag alert when the parent is doing all the talking, especially when we ask directly to the player, what do you think? And then the parent answers. And that's problematic because it really puts the kid in a bad spot because the kid's shaking, going, oh my God, my parent is saying this and that, I'm not even giving a chance. So think about that, parents. We want to get to know you, obviously, but we really want to get to know your child. So for me, is understanding that process, and you know, you guys are young and there's a lot to be learned out there, but you have to maybe be prepared for that conversation and be able to ask questions. We love it, for example, when we were in a meeting with a kid, when the kid's asking us questions about how do you play, what formation, you know, they've seen us play, and we ask them questions like, for example, where do you see me, what position, and we'll say, well, we see you out wide on the left, and you know, we think you're good at this, and we think you need to improve on that, and they could say, yeah, you're right, I feel the same way, and I'm doing this kind of thing to improve my game. So these kind of things that we want to have an engagement with your child rather than the parents. Certainly, it's a complicated process, and certainly the parent has a lot of impact and input to the process, but we really want to get to know your kid really, really well.
And that's, I know it can sometimes be intimidating when you're going into a meeting with a college coach that you want to impress, but it goes back to, you have to own it. You have to own your own development, and you have to own the recruiting process. You have to be proactive, you must be professional, and allow your coaches and your parents to support you, but you have to be able to go into an office on your recruiting trips and handle yourself well as a young man. So start practicing it now. You've got to be assertive in this process, and you drive it, not your parents, not us, not the college coach. It comes from you. So make sure that you are owning it, okay? Mike, any, in terms of sort of events, games, locations, where do you normally go to recruit?
I'd say for us, we're going to go to the largest showcase events on the East Coast. We'll be at, obviously, Castle, National League, ECNL, then Disney Academy Showcase. We'll go to Academy games when we can. It seemed like this fall there weren't very many Sunday Academy games in the state. We play Saturdays, that can make it challenging, but we're going to go to those games. If there's opportunities in the spring to go to some club games, we will. Fortunately, I'll be coaching 2 club teams, so it makes it a little bit easier to see the internationally, we'll make an international trip or 2, some ID camps. A lot of us go to each other's ID camps, so we'll do that. And then one thing, part of that recruiting process, and the soccer world is small, so when you email a coach, it's likely someone on our staff will know your club coach, and it just takes a quick phone call or text. Who's Matt? Is he a good player, a good person? And that guy can, Adam can tell me very quickly how you conduct yourself in training, and typically they'll give us an honest opinion. So when we talk about the type of people treating, taking your club environment seriously, treating your club coaches the way, they should be treated, with in mind that we're going to probably contact them if you want to come to our school. And, all of us know each other. We know a lot of club coaches throughout the state, so it's very common.
Tony, in terms of events and that at the D3 level, is it the same as the D1? Where do you normally?
Yeah, it's just where you get most of your players. For us, we recruit all up and down the East Coast. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of contacts overseas, so we do recruit that heavily. Sometimes we're more fortunate than others to be successful there, but for us, we have a lot of North Carolina kids, Florida, South Carolina kids, and up northeast.
Dane, in here obviously we have our development academy players, and then we also have our elite players. So in terms of the development academy and not playing on the academy, is is that an advantage, disadvantage? Can you still be recruited if you're not playing in the academy? I mean, obviously it depends on the level of school, but what sort of thoughts or information can you give on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely still be recruited whether you're playing in the academy or not playing in the academy. I think that if you're not playing in the academy, I would say that you might have to do a little bit more on your own, going to camps, going to one-day ID camps, or you might have to do a little bit more maybe, but even in the academy, that doesn't mean I just show up to the academy showcase events and playoffs, whatever, and there's just gonna be tons of college stuff in the game. I still think you have to do your research, your background, and put yourself out there in the best light, and narrow down a couple of schools, maybe go to their one-day ID camps or whatnot. But there's tons of guys on our roster that are outside the academy. So that's just, I think every college coach is trying to find, to be honest with you, some of those guys that are under the rock somewhere. So I would say, yeah.
And again, this is nothing against high school. Dan, do you go to high school games to recruit players, or do you recruit them through the club first? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to a high school game, but it's not going to take me just going to a random game. It's going to take you guys reaching out to me, and at times it's going to take you guys reaching out to me multiple times. One thing that stands out for me is how persistent a player is, how bad do you want to do at App State. Our player is constantly reaching out to me every other week. Okay, it's my high school game. Absolutely, I'm going to see you guys. For us, it's, go back to what I said earlier. I think we make the team better. It's academy, non-academy, overseas transfer, you name it. I'm going to try to go and watch it.
Okay. We mentioned ID camps. Corey, in terms of obviously going to the camps, are they a good idea? How many should you go to? And what are some sort of things that these lads need to be aware of in terms of summer camps or ID camps as they're now called?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I obviously we recruit a lot from ID camps. I think they're great environments because they're guys that want college soccer. So that's a huge plus to me when I go to an ID camp, and I know most of these kids here are really driven, really passionate about playing soccer in college. So that's the first thing that I like about recruiting events. I think they're good opportunities to go see and be trained by college coaches and get an opportunity to work with them, and then using it as an opportunity to go visit a campus that you have an interest in and playing in front of coaches that you at a school that you maybe done some research on and are real interested in attending, even apart from soccer as well. I like using those opportunities because some of the things that we'll be looking for would be, does this person work hard in the environment? Do they take it seriously? And are they something I look for? Is this person competitive even in a camp environment, which sometimes can be, you can get varying levels there. So those are some things that that I think are important whenever you're looking at camps or some ideas to keep in mind.
Okay, excellent. Walk-on players. Do you? Because I've heard this before, where lads want to try to walk on to a university team with the impression that they will be allowed to do that. Is that something that you do at Duke? And is that a viable way to be recruited?
Yeah, I've had several in the past 5, 6, 7 years. Being to walk-on players have been successful. For example, I had a couple of twins from Massachusetts came down the first year they played club soccer at Duke and was afraid about the academic athletic combination, and they bugged me to give them a tryout. I did. I extended it because I liked them, their work ethic, their mannerisms, the approach to the game. They raised the level of training, and then offered them a spot at the end of the spring. They were incredibly grateful. One of the brothers made a starting lineup the following year and led the ACC in assists in his senior year, Chris Tweed-Kent, and his other brother ended up being a starter in his senior year. And incredible mindset, and so I love those kind of stories, and I love to give people a chance. We never shut the door on anybody, and I always want to give you an opportunity if you want to earn one. So we have probably about 3 or 4 kind of recruited walk-ons right now, and one in particular right now, Jack Dorn's playing for us, and he's doing an unbelievable job. Nobody in the Ivy League, because I know him because he's from Boston when I was 12 years ago. My father, late father, got to coach him when he was 11. But nobody wanted him in the Ivy League, and now he's starting for me as a redshirt freshman at Duke. And we're having a pretty good year. So that's a testament that if you really want it deep inside, don't let anyone stop you.
Okay. Mike, national letters of intent, what are they, and is it important that, I mean, can you move after you've signed one? What's the
Pretty much, if you're offered a scholarship,
that's athletic scholarship?
athletic scholarship, you'll end up signing a letter. It's after the new year. And pretty much once you sign that, you're committed to that institution. Now, if you want to change institutions and play right away and go to a different school after you sign the letter, basically that school has to release you, which, you know, I've never run into it too much, of a player signing an NLI and then decommitting. But that's pretty much how it works. If you want to decommit, they have to grant permission to do so.
Okay. Dan, SATs, PSATs and ACTs, are they important? How does it work at the D1 level in terms of if you have a poor GPA but a great SAT? Like, well, how does that work?
Yeah, here at App State, in order to get into App State, we sort of have to float the scale. SAT or ACT, it's the GPA. ACT, it's required to have a 23, or SAT, it's 1120. Now that score, it's a bit lower. Your GPA could be higher, it could offset itself in that aspect. GPA, same the other way around. Certain schools require an ACT or SAT. For us at App State, it's one or the other, that's fine. You know, it's, what I encourage you guys to do is take the test multiple times. All right, you get a lot of players, for example, the SAT, your score could go up probably about 100 points, just taking it from the first time to the second time. I do encourage you guys to take tutors, or to get tutors, and you know, go to the ACT and SAT prep courses.
Is that same, yeah, at Division 3 level?
Yeah, there's a sliding scale, obviously for academic and merit-based A. The higher blood from lab, the more money you're going to receive. So if you're close enough, go ahead and do what Dan did. Test multiple times, it's going to be super score, the majority of the schools that you're going to be applying to, and they're going to try and help you as much as they can, but you've got to put some into them yourself.
Okay.
And then one caveat to that would be we're test optional, so in lieu of an SAT or ACT score, you can submit an additional writing sample, which some private schools are doing now. So you just submit your transcripts along with an additional writing sample instead of your SAT or ACT scores.
Just, I mean, obviously we know that, and what everyone's dreaming of is an athletic scholarship that's going to get them where they need to go and all of that. What other types of financial aid in terms of scholarships or Pell grants from the government can players get? And should they be obsessed with, if you don't get an athletic scholarship, you're not a great player? I mean, that seems to come up a lot, that they want this scholarship and that defines who they are. Sort of advice or some information on the ways that you can get money, because we don't want to pay for college if you don't have to.
Yeah.
And how does that define you as a person and a player?
Yeah, so who cares where the money comes from, right? I mean, it's all about just trying to make the school as affordable as possible. So if you take your ego out of it, it's really just how do we get that number down to where it works for you and your family, whether it's athletic scholarship or not athletic scholarship. The bottom line is it's free money. So for schools that have financial aid and use it, like Duke, like myself, but a lot of private schools do. They're have a good funding. Basically, you fill out the FAFSA, and that gets during that process you get to pick schools that you want to submit it to, and just see what they're going to offer, and see where it falls out. It means nothing if you're on a scholarship for financial aid. At the end of the day, we have a kid committed, not committed, but a freshman at our school right now that is a U18 national team member, and he's on financial aid. And when we committed him, he was just a good player. from a nice academy, but just a good player. People liked him, but throughout he got better, et cetera. Now he's a U18 national team member, great. But we committed him on financial aid. We got very fortunate with him. Basically, the way it works is that it's 2 years prior. So if you're going to school next year in 2018, it's based off your parents' tax information from 2016. So you can do it right now if you're a senior, and you can know the schools will be able to give you an estimate basically of where you fall out. The key thing I'll say is that at a lot of schools, and Wake being one of them, if you have really poor grades, they're not going to give you access to that money. If you have good grades, then they'll give you access to that money. And that's the same at a lot of schools. Because they don't want to bring in kids that have poor grades and give them basically free money from the university. They want to give kids that do well academically and have earned it, and maybe their family doesn't make as much money and they're trying to help them out a little bit. So that happens a lot at a lot of schools.
So obviously, take out the athletic scholarship D3, same setup with you lot.
Yeah, there's different institutions that have, I guess, we've got an affiliation with the Methodist Church, so there'll be some need-based aid. It's a Methodist scholarship. And these other scholarships that are endowed, not having to cost a lot of different institutions, but your academics now become even more important if you can qualify for some of those.
So do your research basically, and wherever the money comes from.
Yeah, and then go ahead and all of you guys see NC is a good avenue to get other scholarships that are not a part of the institution that you can carry on to other institutions that you're looking at as well to lower the cost.
Okay, excellent. So scholarship doesn't define you, same as the number on your back doesn't define you. Okay, so get over that. Right, we are down the homeward stretch. We'll just go for a little bit of a summary now. So one piece of advice, and if it's the same, just skip to the next coach. But Travis, one piece of advice for these lads in terms of an incoming freshman. Okay, so they've just come onto your campus. What's one piece of advice you would give them?
Keep going is probably what I would say. You're going from playing U18, U19 to now you're playing U25. So it's a big jump. Really, really good players sometimes don't break into teams right away. Sometimes guys will be in the starting lineup for the first part of the year, then they'll fall off, they'll come back in. You really just need to keep going, kind of keep your head down, keep working. It sounds very cliche, but if you kind of come every day with that mentality of getting a little bit better every day, you're going to end up being pretty good and kind of getting what you want. And the coaches are going to get what you want out of you.
Okay, all right, Dave, one piece of advice. We can come back and then
I'd say that's really good. I was going to kind of say embrace the grind of college because the athletics and academic side of things, but I'll say be your own man. You know, when you get to college, when you're growing up, and I'm raising a son now, he's 7 months old, he's got a long way to go, but your parents raise you to a certain level, right? They raise you and they try and teach you the right way to do things and way to carry yourself, etc. But you're not a man yet. You're not a young man. There's still a lot of growing up. You don't know how to open a bank account. I mean, there's tons of things you can't do on your own. But start to take responsibility and things in your own hands. Don't call your parents the first time something goes wrong. See if you can figure it out yourself. I mean, see if you can do things on your own, because a lot of college is about that. It's about you growing up and starting to take responsibility for your own actions, responsibility for setting your alarm clock, waking yourself up, making your meals, or figuring out where the dining hall is. You can swipe in there, or somebody else is making your own meals. But just trying to figure out how you're going to carry yourself and operate without, mom and dad around you. Maybe do your laundry once this year. See if how that goes. Just try to be your own man.
Don't take it home. Tony.
Yeah, I think for us, it's make sure you're preparing to be successful. So, like anything, you've got an exam tomorrow, you're studying for it, so you can prepare to do well in your exam. Same thing, you come to college, you prepare physically and academically to do well, and to be accountable, which is what Dave's just touching on, and fulfill your potential.
Corey?
I would say show up fit. That's like Dane said, like the college soccer schedule is a grind, and that's going to make your life a lot easier in terms of getting through it. It's also, a lot of schools do fitness tests the very first day preseason, and it's the first thing that your coaches and your teammates see is how much work and effort you put in over the summer. So it's literally the first chance to make a good impression for your teammates.
Yeah, I've personally, when I was on the other side of the fence, in terms of college coaching, good players at Syracuse, so high level, freshmen come in unfit, and she could not get fit in time to get the playing time, which led to a spiral of self-doubt, confidence, everything, and then just faded away. And it was all due to fitness, because she couldn't pass a fitness test because she wasn't prepared. So I've seen that firsthand. So, Mike?
Yeah, I think part of it fits an issue because adjusting to the college game as a freshman can get difficult. So I would say just focus on doing what you can do to help your team be better. Right now you can do that with your club teams because the guys that are changing club teams every day, every other year, I got to go to this ID camp, I got to go to this camp, I got to get seen by this coach, I got to get a scholarship, I got to do this. Those are the kids that come freshman year. They're having an individual meeting with their coaches every week. Coach, how can I study? How can I play? How can I do this? And then you're more concerned about what you need to do so that you can play selfishly as to how can I make him better? How can I do what the coach is asking? How can I make the team better? Because if you do that, you'll start to play better. Your confidence will go up, and then the time will end up coming. But if you're selfishly thinking, what do I got to do for me, then you're going to just drive yourself nuts your entire freshman year. You're not going to go in.
Dan?
I say just don't take it for granted. You can get better each and every single day. Don't take today off or tomorrow off because a senior starting and it's me next year or our team's really going to be good next year or in 2 years. Be good now. Don't have that losing mentality of we'll be good later. Be good now.
I think I just have a little message, not about your freshman year, but now you're going through this process. And I just went through this process with Cameron's sister, who's a junior, in terms of figuring out what you guys need to figure out is what you want out of your experience. What do you feel is the right place for you? So, for example, my daughter had 3 choices of 3 different schools to attend. And 2 of those schools really liked her, but didn't offer any scholarship money. And one school in particular told her that she was not going to play her first year. So don't come to my school if you think that you're going to play your first year. And then the question was, and then the 3rd school actually offered her a scholarship and I would say a pretty good indication she's going to play early. So the decision was now hers. What do you want out of your experience? And she says, Dad, I don't want to go and sit the bench. I don't want to do that. I want to go somewhere where I can play right away. So therefore, you eliminate a lot of options, and then you narrow it down, and you understand yourself. And part of this process is very difficult, is to be realistic. You really have to understand your level and the places that you're interested in to really see yourself there. For example, there's so much college soccer in this area. You're very lucky and fortunate. I would try to get to as many games as you can and sit down and really understand the level that you're looking at and honestly assess to yourself, do you see yourself out there? And also ask this question, yeah, I see myself out there, I'm just as good as that guy or that guy, but candidly, all of us up on this stage here are looking for better players every single year. So you have to be better than what we are going to have on the field, because that's what we're looking to replace every single year. So be realistic, figure out what you really want, and then it'll be a lot easier process.
Best advice in terms of that is, yes, you have to have real expectations. You can't have unreal expectations. And this is no disrespect, but you're not all going to be able to play at Wake Forest or Duke or Carolina or App State. It's not going to happen for some of you, okay? So exactly what John said, you have to have expectations that align with your ability. By all means, shoot for the stars. You have to shoot for the stars, okay? But make sure that those expectations are real. And same with the parents, because I've had it with boys and girls parents. You cannot have unreal expectations for your son or daughter. As much as it pains you, okay, you have to be realistic. And Andy, myself, whoever your coach is, will be realistic with you in terms of going through the process and finding out where we think you can play. Okay, but that's a massive piece of advice there. All right. Unless there's anything else? No? I'm going to open it up to the floor, so don't be shy and ask some questions. We've got 5 minutes before we allow these coaches to go. So if there's any questions from parents, hands up, and then we'll just pick and go from there. Not all at once, please. Obviously, we're going to be flooded with questions. Players. All right, we'll go players first, and then parents, we'll go back to you. There's got to be at least one question from the players and one question from the parents. I've got one, but I'm going to leave it for a little bit.
Right here.
Yes, young man.
At what age do coaches start talking to the players? Do they wait till their sophomore, junior, senior year, or do they talk to freshmen?
Anyone?
Or can the freshmen reach out to them for the? Not saying you guys are going to call the kids.
Sorry, hang on. Sorry, just to clarify, are you asking when they start looking at players on the field?
And when does that communication start?
Okay. So,
So that's a two-part question.
well, you can only have one. I said.
I took this question.
Right, we've got with that two-part question. So, when do you start looking at players on the field in terms of age of recruiting? Because that is actually a good question because it's coming up a little bit in some of the boys that are now getting to that age. So, yeah.
They're at a recruitable age once they're in high school. We're not as accelerated as the females. So majority of Division I schools will probably try and get commits to their junior year. So they'll be looking at them and tracking them. Most of the communication will be done with the club coaches. Division II and Division III will kind of domino behind those guys as we go through that. But I think a lot of the recruiting process as far as watching has probably started. The earlier you get guys committed, the quicker you can go, but for the most part, you'll be looking at juniors late in your sophomore year, and then some into your senior.
Shane, for anybody else on the panel?
I think at our Division I level, sometimes it can depend on your needs. For us, for example, last year, we knew coming into 2018, we were only graduating 2. 2019, we're going to graduate 8. So last year, we might start looking at 2019, which at the time, for sophomores, just to start getting an idea of the players that are out there. So I think that depends on need. To answer your question, the kids can contact us at any time. It's just a matter of whether you pick up the phone or not. So, but yeah, I think it depends on need at times as well.
Okay, and then we can return that phone call junior year, yes?
Once they're junior, September 1 junior year, we start returning.
Okay, so freshmen carry on doing what you're doing, play hard, study hard. Sophomores start to have one eye on recruiting, and then junior is the big year. Would you agree on that? Okay, but if you are a senior, you haven't been committed or signed, don't freak out. Okay, as we've heard today, you can be signed April if you sign the ball. Okay, so yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, both your questions.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else? I mean, yes, Cooper.
When's the best time to schedule like visits with coaches?
Yeah, anybody.
If you can, try and come to the fall. That way you get to see a game as well. So I know it's really easy with a lot of North Carolina schools. You can drive up and see a game and drive home. But if you're looking at a school in Maryland, try and go in the fall, see a game. Also, you can see teams train. So if you go like for a midweek visit and they don't have a game, but you get to go Tuesday night, you get to see them train. Just something to think about for visits.
Obviously, before visits happen, normally you're talking with the coach. You know, there's some communication, say, hey, like, come on a visit, come unofficially, come check out this, that, and the other. Because normally on unofficial visits, we want to spend some time with you. That's a lot of recruiting that goes on, is unofficial visit. Same thing, official visits, obviously, there's a lot of paperwork and there's more of a process. Unofficial is just like, you know, hey, yeah, I like you guys, you know, come in, bring your parent, take a look, stay the night, whatever, see a game. But they happen throughout the year. So yeah, the fall is great, you get to see games, that's a little more exciting. But obviously you have to have some communication with the coaches.
Yeah, so like build your relationship up, back, and be respectful. They're busy people. So yes. Brendan, do you have a question?
Yeah. How many players like average do you commit a year, and how many of those players actually make the roster?
That's need-based.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like Mike said, 1 year you could have 2 graduate, next year you could have 9 graduate. The fact is if we have players that do commit, you know, they'll make the team. At least at App State, you know, if I get a player to commit, he's going to be on the team guarantee. There's no come here, you know, I want you to commit to App State now, and then you come here, and then we cut you day one. That doesn't happen. I was here for that.
Yeah, any other questions? Parents, this is your child? Yeah.
Is there a time like you suggest that we should start emailing or calling? Like, is there like a certain age we should start doing that, or like time of the year?
I had a 2022. Can I do it? Email me today.
So it's being proactive at least.
He's being proactive. He's listening to these meetings. But I'd say, you know, once you're in your sophomore year, for sure. I mean, it just depends on how proactive you want to be. We may not go watch the 2022 play right now, obviously, but my biggest suggestion too, especially for, I mean, everybody here is going to be playing this weekend. Emailing us right now is a bit of a challenge because I think I had 500 emails yesterday in my inbox. I'm finally down to 0, but I'll have 100 tomorrow. And don't email us Saturday if the event started Friday. I've gotten those. I know all of us have gotten those emails because it's just we're trying to plan out a schedule to watch clubs and teams that we know, and then try to find teams and players that we don't know. And if you're doing it Thursday, Friday, and the event starts Friday, we can't plan to watch you play. So just be mindful of that.
Sorry, this young man has his hand up first.
Yeah, how many players does a typical college team carry on the roster?
Roster size, how many players do you typically carry? Yeah.
It depends on the coaches, depends on what you're required as an institution to carry. Some Division III institutions have gone the route of having 30 to 40 on a roster.
Okay.
It was talked about when I took over at Greensboro College. My roster size hasn't been over 40, so
Okay. Same roundabout, same for
everyone. Certain programs are that they have a limit because of Title IX. For example, before at App State, I was at UMBC, we didn't have a football program. We were able to have as many as we want. Come to App State, and it's a max 28 because of Title IX. Title IX is basically you have to. There's a certain amount of male athletes as female athletes, and you can't go over a certain percentage. That's what's really holding us back from getting 29 to 30.
Do you know when that was brought in, Title IX? 1972. I remember that from Dave Sexton's sports education class. It's the only thing I remember from Lewisburg. Yes, sorry, Jared.
He asked part of it. The other part is, off of your roster, how many are active on game day? Is everybody available on game day, or do you only have a certain number that are available on game day?
I think that varies conference to conference. Sometimes you have rules. I think for us in the ACC, for ACC games, you can dress 22. Out of conference, pretty much dress as many as you want. Our philosophy will pretty much address all our guys that have earned it, that have done well. If you miss a study hall hour, you're not going to dress. For example, if you're late to anything, you're not going to dress. But for the most part, everybody dresses ACC.
Okay. Anybody else? Kelly, do you have a question?
No.
That must be a first. Yes, I'm mad.
Tell you, but we haven't like made a video yet. Is that like, do you guys not think that's a good idea as a coach? Or do you want to just like make one good email after the video schedule every week?
You can create an introductory email, and then coaches, if you don't have something that we'd like to see, like a video or a highlight reel, we'll ask that when you schedule upcoming events that you may be attending. It's also a way to create communication with the coaches that you're trying to create a relationship with. But you don't have to have everything together, but you want to start to try and get on coaches' radars to create that relationship.
If you read the college guide, there will be numerous templates you can use to pick what you want to say. So read it because it's in there. But yes, great advice. Yes?
Just get an idea even specific to this coming weekend. Obviously, a lot of teams, a lot of kids. So how much capacity do you have to see a kid that you don't know you're there to see? Does that make sense?
Not a ton.
That's what I okay.
Yeah, so you want to try and get information out to those coaches earlier rather than later. Some of it is limited depending on how early they release the schedule. I would say if it's really cold this weekend and there is a frost and they want to delay things, and you find out, reach out to those coaches, they'll appreciate it. It'll be a nice touch for you to let those coaches know that there's a delay and your game may be altered.
Get their cell phone number so you can text them. That's
And please write their name down as well.
It helps if you start early in the process. You know, we've had kids where a month and a half out, they're like, hey coach, we're going to Castle. Just let you know my team's going to be there. As soon as the schedule's released, I'll get it to you. And then once that schedule's released, they send it to us, and then they follow up with maybe the week of with another email just on the follow-up. Our schedule changed, a game time, and then you can see kind of a chain of emails of how proactive they're being. Because you're right. I mean, there's, you know, some coaches may not leave WRL, and there's 20 games a time slot. You can't get that every game, so it can be challenging.
Dan, this goes to you talking about, you know, if they miss a study hall, they don't dress or anything like that. Can you, I guess, discuss the value of time management for these kids coming in? And because I know a lot of these kids right now, mom and dad are kind of driving that train, pushing them along, but the value of time in regards to their day.
So every Monday, basically, our academic advisor meets with all of our guys, and basically we make our guys keep a calendar of when their classes are, when their study hall hours are, when they're tutored. They have tutor for basically every class, when their tutors are, our training schedule, our game schedule, when we're traveling, when you're going to eat, and silly things like that. Video session if you have with us, rehab, all those things. It maybe not sounds like a lot, or maybe it does sound like a lot, but those things start to take up massive chunks of your day. You definitely have a lot of free time in college, but how you manage that time is crucial. You know, and you're all going to do it, but you're going to wait till Sunday night when you have an 8-page paper due on Monday, and you're going to cram, and you're going to stay up till 2 a.m. And then you're going to be terrible in training the next day, and then you're going to miss something, and then you're going to be out for a week because you were late, because you missed something. So managing your time and staying proactive and getting things done early is crucial. And our freshmen, luckily, we basically surround them with resources and drown them in resources just to make sure that they don't do those things, that they don't fall behind, that they don't get, if they miss a class, before they walk over and tell us they missed a class, the professor will call our academic advisor so we know they missed a class. It's to the point now where it's like we're on top of you guys to make sure that you're just getting things done when you need to on time. And you guys, the earlier you start to do that, and like I said, my advice is to kind of grow up and be your own man, the better off you're going to be. And the more successful you'll be, not only in soccer, but just in life in general, that your parents don't have to hold your hand through everything. And, you know, for us, once our guys, similar to what Coach Kerr said, once they show they can handle themselves, if you get A's and B's, you're out of study hall. You don't have to meet with us weekly. You don't have to come to study hall. You don't have to do 8 hours a week, etc. You've shown that you're a grown man. You can handle things on your own. You can deal with your classroom. You can manage your time. Okay, that's just a step of maturity that we can trust you now more and things like that. So that's very important to our process and a sign of like where our guys are. We have juniors, trust me, one of the best players on our team is a junior. He's in study hall. He hasn't grown up yet. So you hold his hand.
Any other questions before we wrap up and go home tonight? No? Okay, I mean, just for us, Andy and I and everybody at the Fusion want you to make sure you're professional in the way that you are out there in the community and you're liaising and corresponding with any coach, okay? Because you represent us. As well as your parents, you represent us as a club. And we have great relationships with college coaches locally. As you can see, we've had great coaches in tonight and across the country. So make sure, one, you're professional in what you do, okay? And two, that you're aggressive, okay? We know that you can't sit back, and colleges are not going to come to you unless you're maybe the top 5%, okay? Top 5% players, I would say, and the coaches can agree or disagree, get recruited on their own, okay? But the majority of us, we are the 95%, okay? So we've got to go out there and be proactive and aggressive, but respectful, okay? And like I said, Andy and I and the rest of the staff here to help you, but you've got to do it yourself, okay? And that's it. I would say, one, we need a massive round of applause for these coaches.